All right, here we're going to be doing probably the most technically difficult. And by technically, I mean like technical dexterous issues. So this is probably going to be the most technically difficult part. But if you go slow, you should be just fine. The parts you're going to need the 3 wheeled jigs. You're going to want your little column that we were using for the Leyden jars. You're going to need your 2 spinning conductive wheels. You're going to need some aluminum foil. You're going to need some regular all-purpose glue, multi-purpose glue. A glue stick will work just fine, maybe even better. And you're going to need something to cut with, which, again, I'm going to recommend the scalpel if you got it. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start off by I'm going to do one of these at a time so that we get extra practice with it, but also because if you're doing them both in parallel, it's easier to lose focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of foil that is at least as wide as my spinning plate. So if you can lay the spinning plate fully on here, then you should be just fine. What we're going to do to start is we're going to I'm going to grab this guy. So I'm going to make sure that my spinning wheel, let's see if I can actually fit. Woohoo! Okay, maybe I will do this in parallel. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is lay this on here and just make sure it fits. What we're going to need to do is cut out a bit in the center so that it can like lay flat on top of through this. So this is the same measurement as this. So what we can do is, I've got this lined up okay, and this is why you might not want to do this in parallel, because I'm gonna worry I'm gonna cut it too thin. Let's see, measure on there. Yeah, no, I'm never going to be able to get this perfect. Okay, so I might as well just do one at a time. So let's do it in the center. All right, I'm going to cut out a little bit around it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but a little square around it so that you can thread the thing on there. All right, and there we go. Now we've got a hole. Okay, doesn't matter what shape it is, as long as the shape is smaller than this. Alright, so now, as it is, I can layer this on top, and we are A-OK. What I'm going to do now is sand this if you feel it necessary. It should, we don't want like this to be perfectly glued down. We're actually going to peel up a lot of the glue on purpose. But if you sand this, it'll make it a little easier to glue to it. I'm going to take some of that regular old glue and smear some on my thing. Why is that not working? Ugh, I always have an issue with this glue. Yeah, it seems to think it's not open. Whatever. We'll cheat. Don't need a ton of glue, although I'm going to end up with a ton of glue because of my silly way of doing this. There we go. And then I'm just going to do this with my finger because I'm not going to be precious with it. Smear it around the wheel. You want a nice thin layer because we are going to be peeling a lot of this up. And from the way I did this, I'm not going to end up with a thin layer, so I may have messed up. But we'll make it work. Okay. Let me get rid of some of this extra glue. I got a trash can over here. Go. There we go. There we go. All right. There we go. Now it's all around there. I really wish I hadn't just poured it on there. You want to use as little glue as possible. But whatever. It's too late. I'm going to lay this on. And let it adhere in a very smooth layer. Perfect. Well, perfect enough. All right. Next, let's grab one of the jigs. Let's grab the spokes jig. If we lay this on here, we will see that it fits on the central nub very easily. What I'm going to do is pick a spot for it to be. I'm going to hold it down there, and I'm going to cut 3 sides of each of these spokes. You can go past it, no problem, because we're going to cut that bit off. But you want 3 sides. Pay special attention to, while you're doing this, moving the spokes on accident. Oops. If the piece doesn't end up perfect, that's a-okay. If you want to just do like it systematically, where you're doing like this side, and then come around on the inside later, the inside bits are the hardest to get, so just be aware of that. You may need to do some of this by hand after the jig is up. Actually, I may do that. Just do these outside bits. I'm holding this pretty tight so it doesn't move on me. You'll see that there are a decent amount of parts where I didn't get a nice line on, and that's okay. And we're not being perfect here. I will likely fast forward this part of the video. Oh, see, I just accidentally moved it a little bit. Just make sure it lines back up. Oops, that was a bad one. If you don't get that central bit, that's a-okay. One of the later jigs will take care of this like center bit in here. All right. All right, let me peel this up. Great. So now we've got some ribbons cut into it. Next, we're going to grab the small wheel jig. This bit allows you to cut very easily around this so that it actually separates everything from the center. If you're not going perfectly along with the jig, again, that's super okay. It's just not going to be running at 100% efficiency. I cut around. These lined up. I want to do this while the glue is wet so that I can peel up the parts I want to peel up pretty easily. Lastly but not leastly, take the large wheel and cut around the outside of that. I think my mistake with this is that I'm not turning it. Oh, because it's glued down because I use way too much glue. When I do the second one, I'll use less glue. Turning it. Hopefully you're seeing why cutting along the spokes didn't need to be perfect. Alright, and now I'm meeting back up with the original part. And we can see that we got it right by holding down the large wheel and peeling up this extra bit here. You don't need this, so feel free to toss it. Okay, I'm gonna pick up this wheel. All right, now you actually have kind of a choice here. You can either peel up. You need to peel up every other. Just pick one and stick with it. I'm noticing that I tore through this one, so I'm going to peel up the one I tore through. Be careful to make sure that you've actually cut everything. I'm noticing that with this one I didn't cut all the way through. Don't peel up too much or else it will peel up all the ones. But I'm going to use my little scalpel to peel this guy up. And then go to the skip one and then go to the next one. You want to do every other. Do it nice and slow to make sure that it's actually cut through. Great. If you accidentally get one of the edges up, just feel free to use your finger to dab it down. And if this whole process goes horrible, you can absolutely just peel the whole thing off and redo it. That's going to feel a little defeating though, and remember, it doesn't need to be perfect for it to work. Now hopefully you can see why we're doing this while the glue is still wet. And using the scalpel as a scraping tool is another good reason why I wanted to use a scalpel. Great. All right. And you've got a good like hour before this glue dries, so if this process takes a while, like that's gonna be totally fine. So a little extra bit right here. And again, even if it does dry faster than you intended it to, just peel it all up and start again. I designed this to use very cheap household parts for exactly this reason. So the way the Wimshurst machine works is you're going to have some light brushes brushing along this wheel. They're not, very heavy brushes, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. But you'll want this tamped down as flat as possible. So what I'm going to do after I peel up this last piece, and then now after I peel up the center, because we also don't want the center, we definitely want these electrically isolated from each other. We are going to flatten out the conductive pleats. There we go. Okay. And again, you see my issue with using way too much glue. I'm going to just use the back of the scalpel to flatten these down a little bit. We'll be able to do it a little easier once the glue dries a little better. I'm not going to spend too much time doing this because I know that I'm going to end up doing more harm than good. You definitely don't want to get glue on the top of these too, so if you've got glue on your thumb while you're doing this, be careful. Also, don't hold the scalpel like I am. I think these are mostly very flat. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll let this dry, and in the meantime we can start work on the second one. Alright, I'm going to make round 2 with my Wimshurst machine. My first plate turned out pretty decently. I used way too much glue though, so I'm going to try and use less glue for this one. But let's follow the same steps. I'm going to grab some tin foil, make it slightly wider than the wheel itself is going to be. I'm going to cut out the center so that I can lay it on this. Sorry, I've got glue on this scalpel. If you have a scalpel, don't do this. What I'm doing right here. All right, I'm going to cut around here. All right, cool. All right, and I use the column jig for that. Next, I'm going to thread this on to make sure it fits all right, because I don't want to bother spreading out all the glue if it's not going to fit right. Great. You'll notice with aluminum foil, there's a matte side and a shiny side. I don't think there's a difference when you're doing this. I notice I used the matte side for this one up. But I don't think it makes a difference. Honestly, the glue probably sticks better to the one that's not matte. Okay. Got my glue. I'm going to attempt to use less glue this time. I'm still going to use my finger to spread it, but... Ugh, still not coming out. Okay, fine. We'll peel this off anyway. Alright, I'm just going to use way less glue. What did I just say? What did I just say? I said way less glue. Is this way less glue? I think not. It's the... Put it in the trash. Here. Alright, now I'm going to spread my glue nice and evenly. And I sanded this plate a little bit to make it a little easier for the glue to stick to. You don't want anything else stuck to the wheel, like fuzzes or 3D print filament or stuff like that, because then you'll have stuff under the foil, and you don't want that. There we go. All right, that's a much better layer. Alright, I'm going to lay my foil on top and smooth it out. I'm going to try and not use my gluey fingers to do it. Something you totally could do is let the glue dry at this point. I don't think it's super necessary, but I have been able to peel up the bits that you cut off, whether or not the glue is dried. So if the glue is dried, they still do come up. You just might want to use the scalpel for it. Let's flatten this out a little better. Got my thumbnail in that one a little bit. All right, great. Now let's use our jigs. Sorry, I moved the camera a little bit. We'll use the spoke jig first, and use that to cut lines here. Where you want to go past the end and all the way up to the center bit. Don't need to worry about cutting the inside bit. And yes, you're cutting directly on the wheel. That's absolutely fine. The wheel, it can have some scratches in it. Oops. You know, I mean, it's just plastic after all. The whole point of this version of the Wimshurst machine is that you didn't have to spend $200 buying one. So the parts are cheap. If something goes wrong, either print a new one or request a replacement. But printing a new one, very easy, especially if you're working with a school. Many schools nowadays have 3D printers at their disposal. If not, find your nerdiest math or science teacher, and surely they will have one at home, and they'll be happy to print for you. Ooh, that was a bad cut. All right, there we go. Cannot believe I haven't cut myself doing this yet. Shouldn't have jinxed it. I got a lot more cuts to go. This one and this one. All right, take off the spoke jig. Let's grab the interior jig. Cut around there. And this doesn't need to be perfect. So if you come out a little bit from the jig, or need to go out a little bit from the jig because you didn't cut it super right, that's totally fine. And last, I'm going to use the big jig, the big wheel. And we'll cut around that. Never feel bad about turning the jig. You're going to have a much better time doing this if you're willing to actually move the jig. Alright, cool. Let's peel up the outside. Pull down the jig while you're doing that, and you won't have to worry about it accidentally peeling up the inside. we go. And then we'll peel up the inside. Alright, now I'm going to peel the interior part. Let's get this jig off. And again, if you don't want to, or if you want to wait for it to dry first, go for it. Might make things a little easier. I personally think it's a little easier to do this before it dries. Be super careful peeling up the interior part, that you don't accidentally peel up the aluminum plates. Okay. There we go. There's that, there's that, there's that. And then again, I'm going to alternate with these. I want to actually match what I've got on this. So if you went with the inside covered ones on the previous one, which you can test by laying this over it and seeing which it lanes on better. I think I did go with the interior ones. You want the same ones. So this one, I think, yeah. I'm going to start by peeling up this one. And then once you've got one, you just alternate. I got one. I like to go down from the top because I feel like I get a better cut on the top. That way when I'm coming up from the bottom, it doesn't... Ooh, I'm noticing I didn't cut through this one very well. Before I peel it up, I'm going to redo that cut. So that way I don't accidentally peel up the plates that are next to it. There's that one. Ooh, this is a wide one. This have accidentally moved the jig while I was cutting that one, but it'll work fine. If you want 100% efficiency, order it directly from Amazon and spend $200. When I originally wanted to make this electronics course, I figured like, oh, you know, a Tesla, or not Tesla coil, sorry, a, oh shoot, what's it called? Van de Graaff generator. Van de Graaff generator is kind of exactly what I was hoping for, but unfortunately with the Van de Graaff generator, it's got like moving parts. Like you need to have power to it. You need to have a motor, which, you know, are easy enough to come by, but I'd way rather have a version of this that doesn't require any specific components. And so after doing a little research, I found the Wimshurst machine does the same thing, although not quite as high voltage as a Van de Graaff generator, but still enough to where you'll get a poke. Especially if you do it reasonably efficiently. But the Van de Graaff generator, yeah, uses components that not everyone would have access to, while the Wimshurst machine doesn't, although I guess you do need the bearings. But those are, you know, $3 on Amazon. So I picked this one, but the problem was it was too hard to... I don't remember my train of thought. I need to cut the audio for this part. Maybe if I'm just sharing this with students, I won't bother cutting the audio because they know I ramble already. But... Alright, there we go. We got our second one.